Hey, what's up everyone? In this video, we're going to get into the practical stuff of actually adding pricing and putting your product in your store. There's a few things that go along with it when you add a product, and the main ones are really going to be pricing and shipping, your copy and your graphics that you use, and then if you have any variations that go along with it, and also tagging it with collections so that you can have related items and have actual collections that pertain to one niche. Okay, so I'm going to work off of the owl examples that I was using last time because I know that I definitely want to test this niche out. So I'm going to I'm going to end up putting all of these in here, but again, for the sake of the video and the content, it's really the same process repeated over and over and over again. So, I'm just going to show you how to do it with a couple, and then you'll have the basics and the process for how you do it with any product. So we're going to start right here with this infinity necklace that we looked at that had a lot of sales, a lot of trending activity. And they actually have a couple of variations of it. They have this variation, I believe. That's that one. And then they have this one. They have a dragon. Okay, so they have a couple variations. This could end up being, I do like this as well. This is the one we saw though that was already doing very well. So we're going to start with this one. So the main thing that you need to do first, well, of course, first we got to come here and go to products, and then if you haven't added any products yet, you'll see it'll look like this, and you'll click add product, and it will take you to the products screen. All right. First thing I do before I get any of this done is I grab the picture. Okay, I'm going to show you these two sites in a second. So take a screenshot, however you do that on your computer. I usually use Photoshop, so I'm going to show you both ways that you can do this, all right? If you use Photoshop, then you're just going to take a screenshot, come to File, New, and open up, paste it right in there, okay? And then what I do is I use the selection tool here to grab the main image like this. Cut that, and then do another new file. Anytime you cut, it's going to automatically adjust the width, but I always do my pictures at 1000 by 1000. You'll see some people that say they do 1200 by 1200, but I like 1000 by 1000 because I think it fits the newsfeed ads very well for a photo post. So I'll put that in there like that, and then I like to make sure that the edges line up, so that doesn't line up there. So let me just stretch it a little bit. Okay, and then there you have that. Pretty simple. One thing that I do with every picture is I always adjust the contrast and the brightness a little bit. So in Photoshop, to do that, you'll come up here to Image and Adjustments, and then you'll see the brightness contrast. And the reason that I do this is if you watch the image, you'll see that it just makes it pop a little bit more to do that. Sometimes adjusting the brightness down is better than adjusting it up, depending on if the picture is really dark or light. This one's obviously really light, so adjusting it down actually works to our advantage in this one because now the picture, the bracelet pops a lot more. Okay, so brightness and contrast is a really simple trick that not a lot of people do that you can use to make your pictures really come more alive for your advertisement. And it's still not completely stretched here. So there we go. And it's basically that simple to get a picture. Now, not every picture is going to be that simple. Some of them will add a little bit more to, but for this one, for a jewelry shot, this is really what I'm looking for. It's just a model wearing the actual jewelry, okay? So when I do my stuff now, what I'll end up doing is I'll save this in a folder inside of my store. I'll create a new folder for this item. Well, actually, I'll create a new folder for the category. So this category is going to be We Love Owls, and then in that I'll create a new folder specifically for this item, and then anything that has to do with this item I will put in this folder specifically. So I haven't given this one a name yet, but we're going to call this I think we're just going to stick with the basic name that it already was, the Owl Infinity Bracelet, because I like the infinity word. Alright, sometimes it helps to change the name, but in this case I think it works. And then I always save them as a PNG file. Alright, so that's how simple it was to get that first picture done. Now, if you don't have Photoshop, two things. Number one, you can get Photoshop for $10 a month, I believe. You can get the full program. Let's just see. Make sure that I'm saying, oh, well, it went up to $30 a month. So that's a little bit more expensive. Photoshop's a really great tool. I have it. Oh, no thanks. Okay, that's for stock images. Okay, so basically you can get Photoshop CC here and Lightroom, which is all you need for $10 a month. So I just want to mention that to you in case you're interested in it, or you have I guess an inclination towards design, because if you do, then Photoshop's a great tool to have because you can do anything with it. All right. Now, if you don't, and you're going to be outsourcing most of it, or just trying to get by until you can outsource it, then I wouldn't worry about it, because there are free tools you can use, which are right here. All right. So what you want to do with these two, Pixlr is basically, you can see it gives you launch the web app. You're going to have a good internet connection to use this. But it's basically a similar version of what Photoshop does, just all online. All right, and you can do the same exact thing. So the only thing you can't do here is you can't, I don't know how to anyway, to just take a blank image from a clipboard. So let's try it, because what I've been doing, let's see here. So we take the screenshot again. Create new image. We know we want it to be 1000 by 1000, so in this case we'll just create the new image at 1000 by 1000. Alright, make that larger, and then let's see if we can just paste it on there. Yeah, see, so that's the problem. You can't just paste an image right on here like you can in Photoshop. So what we do is we use this. Alright, so this allows you to then come here, again, do the print screen button to take a screenshot with Snaggy, this website here, snag.gy, and now we click back to this web page right here, and we just hit Control-V to upload. It'll take the image data and do exactly that. Now we can crop this to the exact image that we want right here. Alright, so you crop it and then hit enter. And now there's the image. It's not perfect, but good enough. You get the idea. And then you want to save it. Alright. So now that's been saved. Click on the new link and you can download this image, right? Save image as. And then, just save it to your desktop as whatever. Now when you come back to the online photo editor, you can close this and you can open an image from your computer. Right, so you can come here and open that image you just created and then voila, you're good. And you can do the same things in here for the most part. Like I can stretch this if I come in here like this. Oh, never mind, that didn't work. Functions are a little bit different in here. So either way, that's why I like Photoshop, because it's not quite the same thing. But I know that you can still do the adjustments, so you can adjust the brightness and contrast in here, which is really what's most important. So we can take the contrast up and then the brightness down a little, just like we did in the other one, and make that image really pop. All right, and then you can save, just like you would, save this image to that folder then, okay? So that's how you can use the two different softwares. That's the word I was looking for. Two different softwares to either free online to be able to do this yourself. Because let's be real here. In the beginning, you got 20, 30 products to add to your store. Chances are you're not going to want to outsource all of that because you're just testing products, and it can be somewhat costly. It might not be too much money, but if you're talking $5 a product or $5 for every 2 products would be a fair deal in my opinion. So you'd be looking at paying still like $75 to get 30 products added to your store. And you don't even know if those products are going to sell because you're just in the testing phase. So it's beneficial to you to get some graphic skills under your belt. And this stuff is not hard. This is really just copy, paste, cut, edit, adjust brightness and contrast at the most basic level of what we're doing because the pictures are already in AliExpress. Which is why one of the conditioning factors that we look for in AliExpress are items that have good pictures. All right. So once you have your picture, then what I like to do here is you come here, you'll have your title. We already decided we're going to call this the Al Infinity Bracelet. We're going to upload the image. And now we're going to write our product description, okay? Product description is important. Some people do too much, some people do too little. It's really about finding a nice little medium. I usually draw off of what they have in here in the product details. That way you can give, some information and also try to, so give me a second to think about this. I'm actually going to pause it while I think about what I want to write, because that way you can just see the finished product and I'll explain why I wrote what I wrote. Alright, so we're back and you can see now that I have typed some stuff out here, and I'm just going to go over it quickly. I'll read it with you. The owl is one of the most beloved and enchanting animals among us. It represents love, intelligence, and strength, which is why we know you will absolutely love this hand-braided leather Owl Infinity bracelet. Made from natural leather, braided and linked with handcrafted alloy charms, this bracelet is perfect with any outfit and is full of meaning for its wearer. Each piece is carefully made, completely adjustable to any wrist size, and closes with a lobster claw clasp. Due to the high demand of this one-of-a-kind item, please allow 2 to 3 weeks for delivery. And then I have the checkout stamp. So you can see here, I looked up anchor symbolism. That's where I got the idea of the strength. I also looked up owl symbolism just to come up with some ideas, and I picked to use the words love, obviously, because love is in the item, and also intelligence. So when you're writing a description, basically, you want to try to combine information with the sense of giving a person the urgency and the comfort of having that item. All right, every item is different. Some items don't require as much of a description, some require more. But for something like this, I like to be a little bit creative in what I write. There's a lot of different ways you can write this. This is not the only way, and this is probably not the best way, all right? But, you know, I do think it's creative. I do think that it speaks to the desire of the target market. You know, it talks a little bit about what the piece is and uses adjectives. Adjectives are important. You want to use good adjectives, all right? Like, instead of just saying made from leather, made from natural leather. Does that really mean anything? No, I mean, not really. All leather is probably natural, but it's just an adjective in there that makes it sound better. Handcrafted, all right? Instead of just saying linked with alloy charms, handcrafted alloy charms. Again, what does that mean? You know, what difference does it make? It doesn't really mean anything, but as a description, it sounds better. All right, and you know, on one hand, I guess I'm hearing my English teacher in the back of my head saying use only as many words as you need. The words do mean something, all right? It's not like they're useless words, but what I'm just saying is that when you're looking at these adjectives, you could look at that and say, well, it's just leather, you know, but the point is saying natural leather sounds better. Handcrafted alloy charm sounds better, and it does mean something. You're saying they're handcrafted. Now, are they handcrafted anyway? Yeah, probably. But if you call attention to the fact that they're handcrafted, then you're just placing that extra emphasis in the person who's reading it. All right. And then saying something like this, I always like to do. This bracelet is perfect with any outfit because it gives them the idea of wearing it, right, of actually having it. I like to do that with any product, not just jewelry. Any item, I try to put something in there that gives them the idea of actually having it, starts getting them in that frame of mind and that reference point of owning this item. And then some information. Each piece is carefully made, completely adjustable to any wrist size. That, of course, is important for an item like this. Closes with a lobster claw clasp, lets them know that information I got from the product details right here, that it's made from leather, handmade, lobster clasp. I mean, it's lobster. I think it's lobster claw. I'm just going to go lobster claw. So that's the way that I work on my descriptions, all right? And then here's how I frame the item. This is important, and a lot of people, you know, this is a key point here. A lot of people won't even read this, but you have to have it on your product page, all right? We have to have on our product page that it's 2 to 3 weeks for delivery. Now, do we want to say it's coming from China, so it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks? No, of course not. That's what so many people get confused about in this business model is they say, well, the product is coming from China. It takes 2 to 3 weeks delivery. Why would anybody ever order that? Well, because we're finding unique items. All right, this is a unique item. They're not going to find this anywhere else. So if they like it, they can stretch to believe that there's high demand on this one-of-a-kind item because they've never seen it before, you know? So please allow 2 to 3 weeks for delivery. I could even stretch this further and say, please allow 2 to 3 weeks for crafting and delivery or something like that. But I usually just keep it like this. And that's how we frame it. A lot of people don't even read the full description, believe it or not. They just skim through. They read the first letter or the first paragraph, and if they like it, then they buy it. But you want to have this because if people email you later and say, hey, it's been 2 weeks, where's my item? You know, I have a very specific template of what I use to tell them, you know, your item has been shipped. Here's the tracking number. Due to the high demand, please understand that we ask for 2 to 3 weeks delivery. It's right, you know, and I tell them it's on the product page, and I'll show you that later in another video. But it's important to have it here on the product page. All right, we're not trying to pull anything over on anybody. We're not trying to trick anybody. We're letting people know right up front that it's 2 to 3 weeks. Yes, that does not compare to Amazon. And a lot of these other online stores out there that are able to get shipping in less than a week. Sometimes, you know, Amazon Prime, obviously 2 days. But, you know, at the same time, it's not a disqualifying factor. If you're selling items that they're not going to find anywhere else and they really want it and you're selling it at a good price, all right? Lastly, if you remember from the first video, I believe it was, or second video, I don't know, whatever the building your store video was, when I talked about loading this image in, this is our checkout stamp, all right? And I talked about where you can find one of these by just going to Google and, you know, typing in checkout stamp. or maybe not checkout stamp. That's not what I meant. How about checkout security? Maybe is what I meant to type in. Yeah, there you go. So you can see the different types around here. You can download one, mess around with it a little bit to turn it into your own. And you want to have one of these on every product page, all right? And you want it to be big as well because it makes your product page look more full, and just, the color helps and it pops and all of that stuff. So definitely a must-have, all right? Now, obviously, don't put things on there that you're not accepting. If you're not going to accept PayPal, you can't put PayPal on there. I don't know if I have Amazon set up with this store. I think I do, but my intention is to have Amazon set up. So, and don't put this stuff on here if you're not going to honor it. I honor all of this stuff. If somebody has a complaint, returns are difficult because you just lose money on it. But I honor refunds and returns for people. So don't put that on there if you're not going to legitimately do business that way. But if you are, then that stuff is great to have on there. And, a checkout stamp like this is going to serve you very well. All right, and finally, some of this stuff may seem very subjective. Again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the absolute best ever description because it's not. I just wrote this here in a matter of 2 minutes, and it could be better and it could be tweaked over time. However, I do have a lot of inherent knowledge when it comes to copywriting because I've studied the subject. I've always been passionate about writing for years, and I've studied it, and I've studied sales copy and advertising. So it would benefit you to look into that kind of stuff. Look up people like Dan Kennedy or Jay Abraham, and or the Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins, and look at these types of things, and you'll get a really good sense of just the idea of what you want to do when you're advertising any type of item online, all right? The type of framework and the type of words you want to use and the type of picture that you want to paint. Even though it may seem so simple, it's only a few words, that's actually where it becomes the most skilled copywriting are the people that can paint the picture and say what they need to say in the least amount of words possible. All right. So you want to work on that, and you don't need to be an expert at it. Believe me, I'm nowhere near the levels of some of the copywriters out there, but I'm good enough at it, to be able to get by and write quick things up that sell. And then I know sell because I've been doing this and I've been selling for a while now. All right. So at this point, we have our title, we have our description, we have our checkout stamp in here, our image in here. We want to set our price. I don't charge taxes on the product. That's just a personal decision. And I always have a compare at price, no matter what. All right, just because I want people to feel like they're getting a deal. So for this, you want to, pricing is very subjective. People, I get questions sometimes, how do you come up with your price? What do you look at? What do you figure? Well, number one, you want to come up with what you think is a fair price for the item that you're looking at. So right off the bat, for something like this, I'm thinking $9.99. All right. I get it for $1.50, $2.11 e-packet. However, that's why I charge shipping as well on my items. Now, some people out there will tell you that giving free shipping increases conversions, and that could very well be true because free shipping, and we may do a test on this actually at a certain point to see if it does, but I like to charge shipping because it helps me increase my profit margin, because right now at $1.50 plus $2.11, I'm $3.61 all in on this item. So if I sell it for $9.99, I'm only making $6.30 on it. All right, and you still have to figure your marketing cost in. So it's $6.30. If my cost per purchase is $5, I'm only making $1.50. All right. Here's a big thing that a lot of these self-proclaimed gurus out there are not telling you, and it's why you see, it's annoying. Honestly, it's really annoying. Anytime somebody posts a screenshot, everybody wants to know your profit margin, but it's understandable at the same time because these people understand that there are these wannabe gurus out there that are showing pictures and screenshots of sales but their profit margin is not great, and that's why they're not living a lifestyle of freedom. That's not why they're not doing anything impressive with their lives, because they're really not making that much money at the end of the day. They're able to drive a lot of sales, but they're doing something like that. I watched one course, just on a tangent here. I'm not going to say the name of the course because I don't think that's fair, but I watched a course where the guy was showing his $1 million store that he made all kind of, he made $1 million in verifiable sales in, but he was showing his ads and his cost per purchase was astronomical. It was like $10 cost per purchase on these free plus shipping offers he was running. And I was just thinking to myself, there's absolutely zero chance in my mind that he is super profitable on this. And of course, he didn't share his profit margin in the video at all in any of the trainings. And I'm very open about my profit margin because I have good profit margins. People that don't have good profit margins are going to say things to you like, well, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the amount of sales you're able to drive. Of course, I'm making some money, and I'm sure that he was making money at the end of the day. But my point is that don't buy into the hype so easily. All right, we want to set up a pricing structure in which we're actually making money, which is why you see when people comment on my stuff and they say it's impressive that I'm able to consistently be getting 35 to 40% profit margins in this business model, because something like this, if you were to sell it for $9.99 and not charge any shipping, and then you've got a $5 cost per purchase, you're making $1 per product at the end of it. So if you sell 10,000 of them, that's awesome. But your chances of selling 10,000 of these are slim. That's a lot of product to move. Believe me, I've sold that many products, but not of just one product yet. That's a lot of product to move of just one item. So just keep that in mind in your pricing. Ideally, I like to be at least a $10 profit margin before marketing. All right. The best would be $15, but you can't always stretch it that far. And I'm talking about with shipping included. All right. You can take the shipping out, and then you're just going to be at real cutthroat razor profit margins, or you're just going to have to, find different items that offer bigger profit margins, or, just go right away for the price. So you could just go for the price and try to sell this at $14.95, and you may be able to get that price. But for me personally, I'm going to do the $9.95, and I'll do the $4.95 shipping, and then if they abandon cart when they see the $4.95 shipping, I'll get them on the back end with the 20% discount, right? That's my strategy, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so $9.95. I'm going to compare at price, though, $19.99, so they feel like they're getting it half off, because I do feel like an MSRP for this could be $20 for a handmade, very nice looking charm bracelet, leather with, 3, 4, 5 charms on here, okay? This is where we put our shipping weight in as 1 pound. That way it will automatically calculate for every item $4.95 in shipping. If they order 2, then the weight will automatically go up to 2 pounds, because it'll calculate 1 pound for each item, and it'll go up to $5.95 shipping. So people actually save money the more they order, and my profit margin goes down per item, but of course I'm making more money, so at the same time my profit margin is actually up, right? And product requires shipping, yes, you want that checked. And then that's basically everything. Now the only other thing that we want to do here is we want to put the vendor in. All right, and the reason that I do this is actually a trick I learned from somebody else, because if you get to the point where you use something like Overflow, or you want to download a CSV file, like you want to export, I can't copy that for some reason, so I'll just spell it, Gia Wiki Jewelry. And we'll get into this in another one where we talk more about automating. But if you get, there are apps where you can export, I think it's actually called Exporter, where you can export all your sales at the end of the day. And what that will allow you to do by having a vendor in there is you can categorize your list of sales by vendor, and then you can just break each section off very easily, or have a VA do it, and then send that as a mass order to that vendor and say, hey, these are all the orders for the day. So that's just a way that you help keep it organized, and they don't see that on the product page anyway, because if you remember, in our themes custom navigation, not custom navigation, in our themes customizable whatever. When we were customizing our theme, we hid the vendor from the product page, okay? And then we set it up, and I'll show you this in case you forget it. We set up our collections to be organized by tags. So we're going to create one tag for the entire Owl Infinity or the Owl collection that's going to be organized by the tag. And I always do my tag the name of the collection, all right? So We Love Owls is going to be the name of the collection. Anything I tag with this will automatically show up in that collection, all right? So once you're done, you click Save Product. We can click View to look at it. And this is how it's going to look on our store, all right? This automatically shows up, so that's cool. You see the text here, looks good. Checkout stamp, share buttons at the bottom. Looks good. Now, there's no related items down here at the bottom yet because I haven't actually created any collections or added any items, but that's what I'm going to do next. All right, so just really quickly, briefly, let me go back and show you this, where this is in the theme in case you forget this, or in case you skipped the first video or whatever video that was, or you weren't paying attention or something like that. So you see in here, there's a customized section for the product page where I do not show the product vendor, and I do show related products and the compare at price and the saved amount, quantity, everything is selected in here, all right? And then the collection page, I organize by tag, all right? So that's how I do it, and you're going to see why right now. Now I'm going to go to collections, and I'm going to add a collection called We Love Owls. And then I organize that collection, automatically select, products must match this condition. Product tag is equal to We Love Owls. Alright, so if I tag anything like that, it'll automatically be added into this collection. You can see as this one just was right here. So now to show you how that starts to build, let me go to the next Owl product. Now you want to make sure as well, something to mention here, that you save these URLs, of course. So I have them all right here, and I usually use a Google Drive as well, but I will also come in to here and create a text file usually and drop the link in there. So I'll drop the product link in there and save it. That way I always have where it is, in case I need to order it. Alright, so moving on to the next product. This one was the necklace. Okay, and this one's cool because it has variations, so you're going to get to see how we do a product with variations. So the process is going to be the same for this, with the exception that we have to edit out. Oh, no, we don't, because it's not in here when we click these. Alright, so we're going to have all these images here. These are the ones that are available. And we're basically going to have to create, we're going to have to do a screenshot for each single one, right? So if I do this in Photoshop, now a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just keep the 1000 by 1000 image up, and then that way I can just paste it right on there. I can come here, Photoshop makes it really easy. You can select it and then hit Control T once over your selection to just automatically stretch it out. Make sure it looks centered, and then that's that's good right there. Adjustments again, just a little bit of contrast. Because this is so bright already, I'm actually going to take the brightness down a few and delete that. And then I'll just go through and do that for each single one. Now, for those of you thinking, well, I don't have Photoshop, what am I supposed to do? You would it would be a little bit longer of a process because every single one you'd have to take the screenshot, and then you would have to come here, Control V to paste. It's just a two-step process here because then you're still gonna do the same thing where you crop in on only the picture, hit enter, but then you have to actually save that individual picture. Open it again, and then save this version of it right here. Right, and then you would save that to your desktop. And you probably don't even need to do the brightness and contrast on this. I'm just in the habit of always doing it, but to save yourself time, because then next what you would have to do is come here, and you would have to open every one of them from here. All right, you would edit it however you wanted to edit it, and then you would save it, and you would get all of your pictures that way. So either way, you can do the same thing. All right, I just use Photoshop because it's, I'm a graphic designer by nature. Photoshop, I love it. I've always used it. Self-taught in Photoshop, and I actually plan for those of you, maybe in response to this video, I'll be able to find out if any other of you out there are also Photoshop users, because there's probably some cool things that I could show you guys that really can help as an online marketer. All right, yes, of course, the goal is, we're not trying to create ourselves a graphic design job here. So the goal is we want to get to the point where our entire business is outsourced. But, I'm going to be honest, man, for the most part, I don't mind doing this stuff. It can be tedious, but at the same time, this is it. If you're talking about making thousands of dollars a month by finding products and then going on here and doing a little photo editing and then getting your ads launched, like, I'll do that all year long. All right, I need something to do, otherwise I'm going to go crazy. So, I don't mind doing it, but there will come a point, of course, even for me, that I will want to get to the stage where everything is outsourced. That way I can focus on, just creating great content for the community and bigger picture stuff with store ideas and building teams, and that's how an entrepreneur grows. So yes, on one hand, we are going to work to the point where we want to be outsourcing our graphics and not doing it ourselves, but in the beginning, even me at this point making the type of money I'm making, I'm not ready to bring on a graphic designer. It's just not necessary in my opinion, and it's it's something that I can handle easily. And I understand the argument there is that, well, you're limiting your growth by doing that, but as an entrepreneur, you got to make your own decisions what areas you want to outsource. Like, I've outsourced all my customer service and my emails, or in my orders, so that frees up a lot of my time, So I don't mind doing this kind of stuff, especially since I'm doing this now with the intention of teaching and recording these videos to show you guys how to do it. I think it's like the stuff that I've always just enjoyed. So, all right, we've got all our photos now. We got one for each. We're going to have to think of they always give you a style number. I usually like to keep the style number the same, that way it's not confusing, but these, like, I don't know, those styles are just straight up numbers and letters. They don't really mean anything. It's not very creative. But I'll probably stick with it simply because, you know, again, I'm outsourcing my orders, so I don't want it to be confusing. And if it comes down to just ordering in bulk, it has to match what they're matching. So I'll probably keep the styles the same. All right, so here's what we do. We come back to add product, and we need a name for this. So fashion owl pendant necklace glass. What is this word? I like that word, but I don't know if that's a real word. Oh, all right. Well, that's a cool word then. So we're going to call this the Al Cabo Shan necklace. I like that word. How about that? Now we need to come up with a description for this. So before I do that, though, let me upload the images. Oh, I didn't even save the images yet. Alright, hold on. Getting ahead of myself. Which is why I was looking at the styles. That's right. So we have the name of this now. And I'm going to save each style as it actually is named. So that blue one is IB 1721. And I just go down in order. Okay. Alright, so that's everything for that. Now we can add this stuff we can add our images in here. Figure out our price on these. I think they're going to be you don't always want to price things just like to be enough, you know. So these are $1.75 normally, $2.11 shipping, so that's $3.86. you can always drop a price. I think these should be priced at $14.99. Compare it to $29.99 with a one weight. All right, $14.95. I like that 95 instead. So then when you get down here, you want to add variants. So this is what it's called when you have more than one of the same exact item. These are the same item. We're not creating a separate product for each of them. We're just going to have variants of the same product, which can be very beneficial because if somebody comes in here and really likes it, they might want to get more than one style because they're different. Or they might want to get one for themselves and one for somebody they know that loves owls, or whatever. So that's why having variants can be really cool. So you have to name what the option is going to be. I'm going to call it style, and this is where I'm saying I'm just going to use the same thing that they use because I can't right now come up with my own name, and I don't think that this is going to hurt conversions at all. That way it'll be very easy. If somebody orders one, it'll say style 1721. My VA doesn't have to think about it and think, well, which one is this? They'll just know which one to go to by hovering over it and saying, all right, this is 1721 right here. All right, the tag is We Love Owls again. And now what I'm going to do as well is write a description in here, and then we'll be back. Alright, so I'm done here with what I wanted to write in here. If you like owls, then you will love these beautiful owl cabochon necklaces, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We have 6 unique styles to match any personality, or you can even get more than one to match different outfits or moods during the week. Each polished gem face contains the bright image of a beautiful owl and is encased in the design of a unique owl charm. I should add what it's made from, right? Made of, I'm going to tell you. It's not sterling silver. That's what I want to call it if it was sterling silver, but can't call it that if it's not. So that's fine. We'll leave it like that for now. Again, you don't need to get too picky about this. Pendant size is 3.6 meters by 2.5 centimeters. Comes attached to a 60 centimeter length chain. And then you can see I also added this image in there. I thought it was cool that they had an image of somebody actually wearing it, but I'm not going to put it in the products because that's where these variations are going. So I've added that in the description. Then here, due to high demand on these handcrafted items, please allow 2 to 3 weeks for delivery, and then the checkout stamp. Alright, so then you're going to save it. And now there's one final step you need to do after you save it when you're dealing with items that have variations. And that is that you want to come down here and you want to match up the variation to the correct style or option or whatever it is you have down here. Alright, so these all just go in order. That way when somebody actually selects that style, this image shows up. So they understand that they're getting the right style. Let me make sure that's correct and everything I just did there. Yes. Alright. So now that's done. That automatically saves. You don't need to do anything. So now you can view it online. That's how it shows up. Image right there looks very nice of somebody actually wearing it, and you can see the recommended items down here show up as the related items because they're tagged the same. So the owl collection, as I build it out, I think it'll show up to 5 items down here. Alright, if somebody selects a different style, then it corresponds to that because I put the picture next to the style, and then people, if they come here, they can zoom in on it to see it better. Alright, so that's the process right there. Now there's one last thing really that I want to show you when it comes to adding products. In the next video I will show you briefly when I've added all, I mean, you're going to get to see when I've added all the products to this store, but again, that's going to take me a little bit of time. That's like a full afternoon of work, so I'm not going to actually do that all in this video for you. All right, again, it's something that I could outsource, but you know, right now, to be honest with you, this is where I'm putting a lot of my time and effort, because I want to get it, you know, I want to get a really good training recorded and have a really good store to use and show people and help people with e-commerce now and into the future. So the other thing that I wanted to show you was this watermark example. If you remember me mentioning this in the last video. Oh wait, hold on. First I gotta save this as a text file, huh? Okay, so that's that. Alright, so now we want to come back here and take this, and I just want to show you something that you can do when you have images that are watermarked like this, and you still want to use the item and it doesn't change like no matter what. Now down here, let's see, actually they may have pictures. They do, but everything's watermarked. Right, so no matter what, they put a watermark on everything. So here's something that you can do. Let's see how it works. Let's take this first image. It takes a little bit of time. Always easier to be able to get the actual image, but sometimes it takes more time to try to get the actual image from the vendor than to just come in here and do it yourself. I'm going to do it first with Photoshop. This may be something that you can only do in Photoshop. I'll have to check the other programs after I do it here and see if you can. But let's find out. Alright, Photoshop has this really cool tool. Let me zoom in here. Called the clone stamp. Alright, and basically what this allows you to do is clone a section of the image that's already there and then stamp right over another section, just as I'm about to show you right here. Now when you use this item, you want to use a brush. Alright, it's going to give you your brush options up here, or stamp options, I guess. You want to use one that is like this, where it's solid in the middle and then fades out. And the reason is if you try to use a solid edge, it's not going to blend correctly. So you want something that's going to blend. Alright. So you have to hold the Alt key on Windows anyway. Click over where you're trying to stamp or copy. So you see how it copied that, and now I can drag it up here and I can click over, and basically it took an exact copy and put it on top of that. So cool, huh? So I can do that all the way through here. And it may not be perfect, but it's going to be good enough that the average human eye will not ever be able to tell. And that allows you, now some images are harder than others. You can't, I'm not going to say you can do this to every image out there, because depending on how well they place the watermark, sometimes you just simply can't copy over it. Like if they would have placed the watermark right here in the very hardest spot, there's nowhere I can really, the only way this works is if you can copy another section that looks like the section where they put the watermark on, if that makes sense. So this is really easy for me to go over, because it all looks the same. This pattern all looks the same. And yeah, as you can see, it's not perfect, but is it going to be good enough? Yes. Absolutely guaranteed. all the way up to the edges, and then you can even go back and find the sections that you've already done, do like that, like you can barely even tell, you know what I mean? And we can only tell because we're looking at it. Once I zoom out on this and I adjust the contrast and the brightness, you'll have no idea. Alright, if I do that. Now if you didn't know where to look, you wouldn't know. Alright, you would never pick that out, that little blur section there or that little blur section there, just looking at this. Your eyes are going to be drawn to the shiny parts of what's going on. So that's a great way that you can take an image that has a watermark and just go right over it if you're not able to get a hold of the vendor quickly enough to do what you want to do. I'm not sure if that's possible with this. Let's see. Clone stamp, they do have it. Interesting. Alright, well let's see if it works the same. So we want to use a faded brush like this. That's too big. Yeah, that should work. Control click to define the area. Okay, so we want to control, let's say we control click here. Huh, they do. So basically this thing's an exact copy of Photoshop. Now that's not perfect, but I'm just messing around here to see that you can do it. Well, look at that. So you don't even need Photoshop. That's actually not even that bad. I mean, this isn't perfect here, but at the same time, I don't know that, again, if I come here and I refine the edges a little bit, I don't know that anybody would ever notice that. Well, they might now. I kind of messed it up, but you get the idea. You see what I'm saying. I could go back and do that over again if I needed to get it to look perfect. So that's pretty cool. You can do all of that with Pixlr. Remember these two websites if you don't have Photoshop and you're not going to be having a big budget to outsource your graphics in the beginning, because it looks like you can do everything you need to in Photoshop right here as long as you have a good internet connection and a pretty decent processor on your computer probably. So that's everything for this video, guys. I think I went over everything. We talked about your copy and your description, your images, which are the first main part of putting your product on. We talked about your pricing and your compare at pricing, which was another big part. We talked about my strategy in using shipping as a way to increase profit margins but keep your price low. And then we also talked about variations and what that's all about down here. And we talked about tagging and collections. So that's everything really that you need to know for adding products, and you're just going to end up doing that process over and over again. So I will end up coming through here and doing that process again for the phone cases, for the jewelry, for the rest of the out products, for the music products I want to add, and all of these other things. And eventually, after doing that for, few hours, probably take a day, maybe 2 days. It'll probably take 2 days, let's be honest here. So after doing that for, over the period of 2 days, then my store will be set up and ready to go. Now, in closing, the last thing that I want to remind you about is you just want to get your store up and running at this point. All right, don't spend too much time. You notice I didn't spend too much time thinking about, are these the perfect products? Are these really, really, really going to be those big, big, big sellers? Yes, every single one of these products I've looked at and I feel has potential to sell and make money. But at this point, I just want to get my store up and running. All right, I want to have my store created and start testing, because you can refine and edit later. There's so many bad products out there on stores all over. It doesn't matter. All that really does is make your store look more established, because you have more products and you don't have to promote them if you don't want to. But that's one of the key things here. We want a general store that looks like an actual general store, looks established, looks like it's got some stuff going on in it. So just get your products up there. Aim to get at least 10 to 15 products up there. And then as you're testing and as you're going, your store is going to continue to build. All right, you're going to be able to refine and edit and go back and change things if you want to change things, and edit things if you want to edit them, make them better, get the framework down, and then hire some VAs to go through and go back and make the edits if you want to do it that way. There's so many ways that you can do it, but in the beginning, don't get stuck on perfection, all right? You want to have progress in mind, progress of getting a store up, progress of keeping up with me, progress of being able to get to the point of launching Facebook ads and testing stuff. And then that way, once you start testing stuff, that's when the real magic happens. That's when you can start to, really spend a little bit more time focusing in on finding the really good products and researching, because now you have the foundation of a store established, all right? Because when you start in the beginning, you could spend 3 days looking for that perfect product and you may find it. But if unless you're planning on running a one product store, which you're probably not, then that's really kind of hindering you, as opposed to getting a bunch of products up there, getting ready to test some stuff, and then while you're in the midst of testing, being able to keep continuing. This is an ongoing process. The research never stops, all right? The testing never stops. So don't think it's like we get 10 products up and we're done, and if those products don't win, then we're done. No, the research never stops. This is just about getting your store foundation built, all right? And yes, of course, don't get that confused with thinking I'm saying that you don't want to have good products in the beginning here when you're picking these. I believe that I can sell these, all right? Now, the market will tell me if I'm right or wrong, but, I believe that everything I'm looking at here has the potential to sell and make money, all right? Now, of course, the 80-20 rule tells me that not all of these are going to make money. In fact, a large percentage of these are not going to make money, but that is the name of this game. You want to get a large number of not necessarily a large number, because let's be honest, a large number would be like Walmart with thousands of products. You want to get a decent number of products on your store so that you're giving yourself the ability and the range to test things, which is why you want to take some time and go through and make a spreadsheet or a notepad or something of a lot of different products. This is just the beginning here for me. I'm going to add a lot more, and then like I said, we're going to get into custom merchandise, where I'm also going to create t-shirts and different things for all of these categories as well. So in the end, I'm probably going to have a store that's got about 50 products on it, and I'm going to be ready to just start launching and testing. All right, one of the things that you'll see in one of the case studies coming out here shortly from a guy that I've been working with, and he took this information and he just ran with it and refined it and tested it and made it work for his own, which is exactly what I want for everybody here. He added a lot of products. He was ambitious in the beginning. He added a lot of stuff to his store, even more than I did, even more than I recommended. And, he went at it hard. He tested a lot. He spent money testing, and he spent a decent amount of money testing. However, that also allowed him very quickly in his next month, his first full month of, you know, after he jumped into it, that next month when he was running ads, he went on to do like $30,000 in sales, all right, because of that mentality, because of realizing the 80-20 rule. Get a lot of stuff on there, narrow it down to your best items, test those items, move through them quickly. Don't be afraid to spend money, and realize that as long as you're following the process that I'm giving you, you're going to find the right items, all right? And it's going to come together even more for you when we get into the next video about targeting, because now once I have my store built, we want to start really getting into the nuts and bolts of targeting, all right? The exact details, all right? We looked at it at a broad level, which is all you need to do in the beginning. Remember, every niche can be profitable, all right? Regardless, I don't really even care what anybody else is out there saying. If they are, you know, if they're an experienced entrepreneur that's been in the e-commerce game and has sold a lot of different items and different products over the years, then I'm sure that they will tell you that any niche can be profitable. It's all about your approach. It's all about your targeting. It's all about your presentation, all right? That is everything in this game, which is why I'm showing you how to present it right first, how to get your store built, how to get the details correct, how to use the right strategy and the mindset of what we're doing. And then we're going to get into how you actually specifically target these people, how you set up these ads, and how you start getting traffic into your store. And the process works, all right? So I'm excited to get into the next videos with you. At this point, you should be like running free, adding products to your store if you're brand new to this and going through this with me from start to finish. If you already have a store, then hopefully this has helped you refine your process, and being able to see what I do and look at this has helped you understand a little bit more. And I'm going to be building out the entire store. So depending on when you're watching this, if you're watching this brand new as I'm recording this, then the store hasn't completely been built yet. But if you're watching this, you know, several weeks to months later and the store is completely built, then, you know, you're going to be able to just go to my store and see all types of examples of stuff that's in there and how I worded it and how I organized it, you know, and no matter what, everybody's going to get that benefit. You just may have to wait a week or two, or not a week or two, but like a week really, if you're brand new to this and watching as I'm recording this. So that's it for this video. I enjoyed making this. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I will see you in the next one. Until then, have a great day. Remember, wherever you are in the world, live free.